the Outdoor Journal. Today on the Outdoor Journal, join Angelo Viola in the beautiful Bahamas as he learns how to scuba dive, then goes diving with real live sharks. On Surviving the Outdoors, journey along with Pete Bowman for a lesson on something you can't live without: water, where to find it, and how to make it safe for drinking. Then on Off the Beaten Path, Reno Viola gets a crash course in the use of an all-terrain vehicle. All this and more coming up on the Outdoor Journal.
Fascinated by their vastness, power, and mystery, the oceans and seas are often looked upon as alien worlds. Well, in fact, this aquatic frontier isn't a whole lot different than the environment that you and I live in. It's got the same requirements for sustaining life: light, minerals, oxygen, and of course water. Hi folks, I'm Angelo Viola. Welcome to this week's edition of the Outdoor Journal, and welcome to the Bahamas. You know, when you consider that over 75% of the Earth's surface is made up of water, you can't help but wonder how, and more importantly, why we evolved into the air-gulping landlubbers that we did. After all, if we're to believe the scientific community, life spent its first several million years drifting throughout the world's oceans before that first invertebrate crawled ashore and sucked back a mouthful of air. But why? Well, obviously there was something down there that forced life to the surface. And today that mystery draws literally millions of people to the ocean shores in pursuit of relaxation, adventure, and most importantly, answers. As for me, it's really quite simple. All I want is the ultimate thrill: making a 60-foot dive to the ocean floor and come face to face with a school of 400-pound sharks and witness a feeding frenzy. Piece of cake. We all look forward to trying something truly different in our lives. You know, add some excitement, some adventure. So what can you do that doesn't involve an expedition to Tibet or the jungles of New Guinea or the Antarctic? Go scuba diving. And there's no better place on this planet to enjoy this incredible sport than in the Bahamas. Green Turtle Key is my starting point, a tiny sliver of land just off of Abacos Island where I met my instructor, Brendel Stevens, owner and operator of Brendel's Dive Shop. In order to make my first dive, I need to spend a few days getting instructions on the ins and outs of surviving underwater. This is called certification and involves both dry and wet testing, usually by a pool. Those first few minutes underwater can be a little unnerving, but once you get your balance and learn how to control your breathing, the rest is really quite simple. Nothing to it. Oh, buddy, that is a thrill.
Pretty neat, eh? Yeah.
Anybody who doesn't get hooked on this stuff, I'll tell you folks, if you've never tried this, and I'm just at stage one, I want to get out and try the real thing.
Well, in about an hour or so, I think after lunch we'll go out and take a shot at the reef, feed some groupers.
Sounds great.
Have a good time.
So why don't you join us out on the reef? In the meantime, let's catch up with this week's Surviving the Outdoors. Brendel, this is fantastic.
All right.
Let's see. You've got Vasa, you've got L'eau, you've got Agua, and you've got Aqua. You've got the scientific term H2O. No matter what you call it, folks, the outcome's always the same. It's water. Did you know that up to 50% of the weight of all living organisms is made up of water? That means we want it, we need it, and we actually must have it. So what happens when you're out in the trail like I am today and rations run out? Well, obviously, I got to find some water. And since about 2/3 of the earth is covered with water, you'd think no problem, right? But remember, most of that is salt water, and there is no way that you or I am going to purify that stuff enough to drink. But with so many freshwater sources available, location is not a problem. When looking for water, try to remember it's the only substance that occurs in all three states at normal temperatures, which are solid, liquid, and gas. In its solid state of ice, it's found in glaciers, on water surfaces in winter, snow, hail, or frost. As a liquid, we find rain and dew, along with puddles, ponds, rivers, lakes, and oceans. As a gas, it occurs as fog, steam, and clouds, the hardest of the three types to obtain any quantities of. Yeah, right. Trying to drink fog or mist? I think you'll look just like an idiot like me right now, folks. Clouds? Well, unless you're open-mouth skydiving with your face right full, that's kind of ridiculous too, don't you think? Let's move to the wintertime, though. We got two good sources, obviously. We got snow and we got ice. Snow is one of the best forms of water you can drink. But try and find, if you can, fresh snow, and please try and find white snow. It tastes a lot better, believe me. Ice, it's not as good as snow, but it will save your bacon. And I found my source today. It's summertime now. I got me a little creek here, a little stream, beautiful little water. You can have lakes, you can have rivers, you can have ponds, you can even have puddles if you want. All these sources are good. But remember, this is not drinkable yet for a human. There's all kinds of critters and swimmers and thingies in there that you gotta get rid of before you drink it. In the warmer months, water abounds almost everywhere, but it's almost impossible to find a pure, naturally drinkable source. Let's take a look from a lower view. Flowing water, like the stream I've found today, is full of microorganisms and bacteria, both visible and invisible to the human eye. The same is true with stagnant or still water. Care must be taken before you can have a drink. Now, by far the most popular method of purifying water to be able to drink out in the field is by boiling it. I've got a nice little calm spot in the stream here, so there's not much sediment coming up. So I can take a little shot of this water. It's pretty clean. If the water's a bit dirtyish, you might want to bring some coffee filters with you if you're in the field, or even clothing like a sock or something. Make sure you don't put that old dirty one on you've been hiking in for the last 2 days, because it might not taste good even after boiling it, but a clean sock wouldn't hurt. Set your water on there, a shirt or anything like that. Set your water on there. Let it boil. I mean, after it boils for 10 to 15 minutes before it'll come to any kind of purifying status. It has to boil for that long. The bacteria in there are kind of a tough little creature. If you can't light a fire, say they're not allowed or it's wet or whatever, these little water tablets are very good. It takes 10 to 15 minutes before it's activated. Per liter of water, I would say, liter or quart, 1 tablet will do you. The old iodine tablets, they work, but remember, they're not so tasty, and the colors gets a little bit off. If you use them, use one of these neutralizer tablets afterwards. It'll get rid of the color and the taste. Now, the best method of water purification, in my opinion, folks, is a water filter. For the inexpensive models like this guy, $32.95, it gets the job done. It does what you need. To the more elaborate models, more expensive models like this one, I like to spend a little more money and get a little better product. This is a Sweetwater system. Let me go through it and I'll tell you why I like this one. First is the first filter. This is the water end. You drop that in the water in the stream, whatever you're into. Next is a float to keep it up off the bottom. This is called a silt stopper. In case you do get that silt in there, it's a filter to stop that fine stuff. This is for the coarse stuff, this is for the fine stuff. It goes into the body, into a main filter in here, and then boom, out to your cup, your jar, whatever you have. But the reason I like this filter the best is an add-on feature. It's called the Viral Guard. When you go to third world countries, you go to Mexico, for instance, something like that, and they say, don't drink the water, you'll get sick. Well, if you bring one of these babies along with you, you won't get sick. But you got to remember now, we as North Americans are very weak in the stomach. I don't care if you're a 250, 300-pound bouncer, you beat up kids all your life, you're a tough guy out in the streets. We have weak stomachs. If you go down there without one of these, you will get sick. I guarantee you, buddy. Now, let me show you how this works. You just take this in, take a little bit of ways off the shore, you know what I mean, so you don't want to get any mud or dirt in there. Take your hose, that outgoing hose, put it in your jar, your glass or whatever, and simply start pumping. Go a little farther. Now, if you have a brand new pump here, the system, run a bunch of water through it before putting it into the jar, just to get the filters all working. She's pumping in there nice right now. I can see where it's coming from. It's not in any mud. And you're probably saying to yourself, yeah, you're not going to drink this stuff. Well, my friend, I'm going to have a little sip, a little tasting sip right now, just to test it. That is from a fish-strewn creek right there, folks. There's probably trout and carp and everything else in there. That water doesn't taste bad. And you know, I don't taste any dirt, any sand, or anything like that. I'm going to fill her up to the top and beyond my way. So if we know now, folks, obviously, we need water to survive. Otherwise, boom, you keel. Sorry to be so graphic and blunt, but hey, it's a fact. We got to have it to live. But remember, though, if you're drinking water like this, you better somehow purify it before you drink it. Otherwise, you're going to be visiting that outhouse a little bit too much. Get yourself some of the pills, a couple jars of pills. Keep them in the bag all the time. You might use them. Get some matches, some pots or whatever to boil that water. It's a great method. Or better yet, get the filter system, the pump system. They work the absolute best. You'll be able to carry on your day and survive with the best of us.
Coming up, Angelo's first plunge into the Caribbean and four-wheeling fun on an ATV. And now, back to the Outdoor Journal.
Located about 50 miles off the east coast of Florida, the Bahamas consist of some 3,000 islands and keys scattered over 100,000 miles of ocean. That's a pile of diving destinations. Brendel explains on the way out what makes this area so good and what we're apt to experience today. Countless miles of exquisite coral formations, along with old wrecks, mysterious blue holes, and walls that plunge straight down a mile or more to the ocean's depths. All this with almost 100 feet of visibility. And to top it all off, we're going to hand feed some tropical fish. We're here, a tiny little reef just off the shore of Green Turtle Key. And while Brendel and the son put down the anchor, I'm getting ready to go. You can tell Brendel's trying to get me to slow down a bit. He's been in this position hundreds of times with over-anxious rookies like myself. The main thing for me right now is to just keep my cool. Incidentally, folks, what you've seen in just a few short minutes actually takes several days of preparation. The average time for getting certified is 4 days, but well worth the special moment. Nothing that Brendel told me could have prepared me for this moment. I'm beyond words, and that's quite a statement coming from me. The only thing that keeps going through my mind is wow. Everything is so alive. It's as though these wonderful creatures were just hanging around, waiting for me like some trained pets. But hey folks, I'm 60 feet down in the Atlantic Ocean, and these things are wild animals. Incredible. But enough of my babbling. Allow me to show you around. What a bonus! It's a pair of mating sea turtles. Can you believe it? Well, I hate to say it, but it's time to head up. Now I think I'm ready for the ultimate thrill. Tomorrow, I'm going to dive in shark-infested waters and come face to face with these denizens of the deep. But first, here's this week's Off the Beaten Path.
Blair, here you are. Thank you for waiting, sir.
Well, you get everything figured out?
Well, I think so.
Good.
There's only one complaint I've got. This helmet messes my hair.
Well, you got a lot of hair to
Well, there's
mess
7
up
of them there.
Reno.
There used to be 8 or 9. Now there's 7, so I got to take care of them. Blair, it feels real safe. It's a real good feeling machine.
Yeah, it's a fully automatic, so it's real easy to learn to ride. All the controls are basically the same as a motorcycle. You've got a front brake, a rear brake, and throttle.
Are they safe? That's what I'm worried about.
They are. They're very safe.
Now, we're not going to fall off of these things or anything like that?
There's no reason I'm going to fall off.
I hate it when you say that. Tell me about the train. We're going to be going through, what, some trails here?
Yeah, we've got, in the forest here, we've got about 160 kilometers of trail, and we'll try to cover as much as we can today. Should be a lot of fun.
Cover it all.
What's that?
Let's cover it all.
Great. Sounds good.
It didn't take very long for me to realize that Blair really knew his stuff, and that keeping up with him might be a chore. After all, what would an amateur like me really know about trail riding? I realized that I could control almost every aspect of my mechanical horse, and if all else failed, slow down and rethink the situation. These machines are equipped with all the safety features that anyone needs. As the day wore on, I became really comfortable with the trail system. That's when I thought it might be nice for me to show Blair what I had learned, and he gladly gave up the lead. Well, here was a chance to show off, but once in the front, the ride became a whole different experience. Almost like a quiet, slow-motion walk in the park, but not quite. The fresh snow in the bush and the trees moving out of the corner of my eye made me really think and see the sport from a whole different view. This was a place to enjoy and have some big fun. But you also need to have an extra set of eyes to make sure you know exactly what's happening, not only on your front bumper, but more importantly, a few hundred feet ahead. You need to have the ability to think of what might lurk just down the path.
Wow. Now this is altogether different. Blair, this is altogether different out here.
Yeah, we got a little bit of an open area. We can have some fun.
What kind of fun are you talking about?
Well, you follow me, I'll show you.
Okay. Blair, you've tested my limit today, so don't put me through the 100% paces, but 99% is okay.
Oh, okay, that sounds good.
Even though most of the visible hazards and dangers are now gone, this type of open field power riding will drain any of your energy that you've got left. Because you're really pushing yourself, sometimes this part of the ride can be the most testing part of your outing. As I learned later, this is where he takes all his show-off students and absolutely burns them out.
Man, that was great.
Well, I figure it's time to head back.
Yeah, maybe we'll have a little lunch.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks for proving to me that this is an every-person sport. It's safe, and it's a lot of fun.
Sure is, isn't
Let's
it?
go do lunch.
Okay, sounds good.
And now for your travel tips. Passport.
My frequent flight destination, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Orillia is approximately an hour-and-a-half drive north of Toronto. Visitors from the United States, of course, do not require any special vaccinations or visa to Canada. A picture ID and proof of citizenship is required. Situated on the narrows between Lake Couchiching and Lake Simcoe, Orillia is a four-season vacation center with many attractions in the area. Autumn is an incredible exhibition of colors as the leaves turn, and spring is as equally refreshing with its blossoms. Winter offers ski buffs both downhill and cross-country access to two major ski resorts. It also lends itself well to motorized vehicle sports. However, you should check with local authorities to determine the areas that permit motorized vehicle entry. Peak tourist seasons are May through September and January through March.
Coming up, Face to Face with Jaws. And now, back to the Outdoor Journal.
Next stop, Grand Bahama Island. As much as I hated to leave Brendel's place, I would equally have hated to miss this golden opportunity to dive with the folks here at the world-famous UNEXO, Underwater Explorer Society. This is where I'm going to push the envelope. But first things first. More instructions, but this time not about diving, but about surviving.
Be buoyant on the dive, so you don't have to wave your arms about to stay in one spot. Of course, the more you wave your hands about, the more alluring they look to the sharks. So a little bit of extra weight there will make it a lot easier for you.
And now the final step, and probably the most difficult one, actually boarding the boat. Man, this is tough. What we're about to experience is an unstaged, unpredictable, and potentially dangerous event. We're going 60 feet below the surface of the ocean to witness Ben hand feed dozens of lethal sharks. It's funny, but most of us here have probably waited all of our lives for this moment. But yet the very thing that brought us all together is now working against us. The excitement has turned into apprehension and edging towards fear. Suddenly all kinds of images race through your mind. Most of them are from the movie Jaws. Man, right now the adrenaline's flowing like beer at a biker's convention. Okay, it's time to take the plunge. You'll excuse me for not saying much from here on in, but it's pretty hard to talk when your heart is firmly planted in your mouth. One of the most difficult things for me to deal with right now is the realization that these aren't trained animals. They're wild, carnivorous creatures out here in the open water. This is their world, and we're the intruders, and that means they could turn on us at any time. But even with all this, I'm savoring every moment of this exhilarating event. In some strange, bizarre way, these menacing creatures are almost showing signs of affection towards Ben. Is it possible? Are they capable? After all, everything we know about them tells us that they have one single purpose in life. They're the greatest predator known to mankind. And then, just as quickly as it all started, it was over. Just like a dream. This is the biggest natural high as humanly possible. It just can't get any better than this, folks.
Hold the mask.
Unbelievable.
My nose is back.
What a rush. I can't even talk about that right now.